Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This week I want to talk to you guys all about college essays. So I got a comment, I don't even know how long ago, recently, from somebody named Shema, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm trying to remember who requests videos so that way I can thank them for asking about certain topics when I finally film it. So thank you, Shema, I believe that's how you pronounce that, for requesting this. That was a great idea, and I probably never would have thought to do a video on this, so I'm super excited to get to do that. And so let's just jump into what I have. So I will put a picture of my personal college essay up here. Don't judge it too hard because I have not looked at this in a long time and I can't talk to what edits it still needs. It's definitely still not perfect, but you'll notice that I have highlights in yellow, and what those are is everywhere that I used extended metaphor. So I think that it can be really hard figuring out everything you need to fit into a fairly small space when you're doing a college essay. So what can really help keep it grounded is having an extended metaphor and a theme. So for my essay, I talked about my experience with ADHD and how I've struggled with it and all of those kinds of things. And what I used to ground that, and with the extended metaphor I used, was talking about theater and musicals. And by doing so, I related the theater and the musicals to my ADHD and to my experience, and then dropped in a few mentions of that throughout the essay. And then at the very end of the essay, as you see, I have another mention again to pull it back to that beginning initial statement about the musicals and relating it to the ADHD. So I wanted to write so much on this. I felt like I had so many different things I wanted to pull into it, and it just honestly felt messy. So I recommend finding one area, one aspect, one thing to focus on to let your essay feel focused and grounded, and not like this person who's reading it is gonna have to be in a million different directions trying to figure out what's even going on. So find one thing in your life that you want to talk about. It does not have to be a personal struggle. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, but find something, one thing that you can focus on and wrap your entire essay around. If you are going to write about a struggle, I would try and treat it the same way that you would treat the question, what's your greatest weakness? What are your weaknesses? That question people get in interviews. So a couple things that I've seen about how to deal with this question is that you want to find something that's not gonna be a major part of the job or life as a college student. And you want to also show how you're working to fix it. This isn't something I exactly covered in mine. It's something I wish I did a better job of when I wrote my college essay. I went into a little bit how I overcame and all of that. But I wish I did a better job, and I could have articulated it better if I was writing it now. Try to find, if you're going to write about a struggle, this is going to have, a negative connotation. You're talking about something difficult and hard, and you don't want to leave the essay with that energy. You want it to feel like overcoming. You want it to feel like you found some solution that you're working towards, that you're overcoming. That word really just covers it all. So you want to make sure that you don't just leave it on, yeah, this struggle and this was so hard and it was awful. Okay, it was awful. Now what are you doing? How are you helping yourself? How are you getting over it? How are you moving on? How all of these things that will show resilience, that will show dedication and hard work and whatever other traits, and that's what's important. That's what the question is asking about your greatest weakness or a struggle you overcame or whatever, but really what the answer gives you is how people deal with problems, how people overcome difficulties and what traits they have to get them through difficult situations. So when you're writing about the difficult situation, that's what you want to think about, is how do I want to show how I'm able to overcome, how I'm able to get through tough times. So if you have that focus, you can really implement it in and make yourself look really, really good. I wish I had done it more. Again, hindsight, and you live and you learn, and so hopefully now you guys will know this information and can use it. So another thing that I definitely recommend when writing a college essay is to try and include a personal and related anecdote. It should be personal, should be something about you and that happened to you, but you don't want it to be like some random personal anecdote. Like, it could be a very good anecdote, great story, but if it doesn't relate to your theme and what you're writing about, it'll feel out of place and it'll distract from your essay and make it really difficult and choppy to get through. So I included a story about a memory that came up for me during an intermission at a Broadway musical. So it tied back in my extended metaphor of theater and Broadway and musicals, and I got to tie it into a personal narrative that directly related to my ADHD and the struggles I've had with it. But what the personal narrative and the personal anecdote can do and add to your essay is it adds, of course, something personal. It doesn't just feel like you're just saying stuff and trying to sell that you're the best candidate or anything like that. It feels like you care about what you're saying. It helps the person reading your essay find a relatedness to you. It helps them see you as a real person and not just an essay. All of these things, and it can really just add to the emotionality of what you're writing. My next tip is rewrite your essay 1 million times. Rewrite it so many times. I hated my essay. I hated it so much. I could not stand it. I didn't want to read it over. I didn't want to touch it or look at it or anything until the final draft. And I literally think I rewrote it like 9 or 10 times. I was working with a college advisor, and he helped me just keep pushing at it. But like, honestly, if I didn't have somebody helping me, I probably would have like given up after a couple times and be like, this is good enough, and it wasn't. So rewrite it as many times as you can stand to. I literally, on my final draft, I have it titled College Essay Attempt number 247820183, because I felt like I had written a million of these, because I've talked about it before. I don't edit, I rewrite. So every time I start from scratch, and half the screen is the old paper essay, whatever, half the screen is the new, and I start from scratch. You catch so much more that way. But I really felt like I had written this essay a million times, and by the time I got to the final draft, though, I felt much more happy with it, and I was excited to send it out, not feeling like, okay, fine, we're just gonna send it out. So I know it's going to be annoying and tedious and feel like it's gonna take a million years, but it is worth it to put that effort into it and to really get a strong essay out to your colleges. So deciding, sometimes you don't need to write an essay, it's not required. So how do you decide if you should? If you are like me and wanted to be an English major, you should definitely write a college essay. If you're going into a field or a major where writing or communication or anything like that is a big part of it, you should absolutely write an essay, especially if if in your application you're saying that you want to go into that major. Because if you say you want to be an English major but then don't write a personal essay, it makes the college then go, well, why not? Why would you not write an essay? That's supposed to be what you want to do. So first off the bat, if you're going into a writing or communication or anything like that major, absolutely write an essay. Now, outside that, I think you should write an essay. The main time I would say lean away if you have the option is if you don't have strong writing skills. If you're not very good at essays and you don't feel like that's going to be the best way to present yourself, then don't do that. If you have the option and you don't think that it's going to be the best way to present yourself, don't do it. You don't have to if there's an option, only if it's going to add to your application. So the comment that I got also asked me about college interviews. I personally didn't have to do any college interviews, but I thought I'd give a quick piece of advice just based on my general knowledge of interviews in general. So one, I would just treat it like any other job interview. It's essentially going to be a very similar kind of process from my understanding. And if you've done job interviews before, you can lean on that knowledge and experience. And the other thing I would say is to just trust yourself. You know yourself better than anybody else who's going to be able to answer for you. And trust that you know yourself. You know why you would be a good fit for the school. Know all of those things. Go into that interview fully understanding why you're the best fit. And if you need to write down different reasons, if you need to have it as a mantra in your head or whatever you need to do, and prepare yourself for that, but trust yourself that you know what you need to say and you know how to present yourself in the interview. And of course, do some research. I don't know enough about college interviews to fully answer that part of the question. That's just my little advice. But I would look up videos and there might be interview formats or examples that you can look up. You might be able to look up articles. I'm sure that there's a lot of information you can also find. So that is everything that I have on college essays. If I forgot something or if there's another video you'd like to see me do, please let me know in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye!